May 2nd workout, we are gonna do a little bit of high-low. We're gonna use the Tabata timer. Traditional Tabata is the 20 seconds, but we're actually just using it because it has a work and a rest timer. So you're gonna do a minute and a half on the work and then 30 seconds on the rest. You're not actually resting. 30 seconds is just gonna be that shorter cardio, more high intensity movement, and then you'll drop it down again to do the minute and a half with the strength portion. Before that, we're gonna activate with 2 rounds, a minute each, jumping jacks, single leg bridge, and a hollow body tuck hold. So jumping jacks, I don't think I need to demo. When you do jumping jacks, your elbows should stay bent the whole time. So in case you're someone that like keeps your arms really straight, there is a slight bend, so maybe you didn't know that. So you got a minute of those, single leg bridge. When you do your single leg bridge, there's more than one way to do it, but what I like to focus on is pulling that knee into the chest. So when I pull my knee into my chest, I'm going into a hollow body theoretically, and I'm gonna lift up. You're gonna feel like you can't get super high. So if I release this leg, I can get a little higher, and that's not what I want you to do. So really pull that knee in with your core so that your quad and belly are sort of touching. Or I used to have people like put their cell phone in on their belly and try to pinch it with their quad. So I'm lifting up here. So you got a minute on the left, a minute on the right. Yes, that's a lot. And then a hollow body tuck hold. So I'm going to pull my knees into my chest. I'm pulling my knees towards my face and my face towards my knees. So I not only have that upper body up, but I also have, I'll show you, the hips are up, hips are down, hips are up. It's a pretty subtle movement, but I want that lower portion effort. So I am really trying to pull these two things together, and you're gonna hold that for a minute. You can come out of that and rest and then hop back in while the minute's going. You can just use a general timer. You could use the minute timer to make sure you're actually doing it for a full minute, but 2 rounds of that. So it'll take you 8 minutes to do the activation. Okay, then we have the actual strength portion versus, we'll call it just cardiovascular work, all right? So the first one for a minute and a half, you're gonna be doing plank row. So I'll give you some options. You can do this in tabletop, so my knees are hovering and I'm doing a row like this, or you can be fully in plank and doing the row here. I would suggest using 1 dumbbell, 1 weight, pulling up, moving it to the other hand, and pulling up. It's really not about the row, so don't worry about getting your arm to do that perfect bent over row position. It's pretty hard to open it up in that plank because you're also trying to like push the ground away. Your main focus is stabilizing the core. That's much more of a core exercise. If you have like a big object and like a backpack and you're lifting that up, you just have to be elevated. So you could do this, I'll just show you with this ab mat, but you could have like a couple books stacked up so that your planted hand is higher and then this hand is lower. If you're gonna do something like that, then just do a couple reps on the left, switch sides, and do a couple reps on the left. We used to do this with like a step, those step risers, so you could be up pretty high, and that way you've got space to drop that weight. You're there for a minute and a half, so that's like your work time, a minute and a half there. Then you're gonna come up quickly, so you have 30 seconds of squat jacks. So I'm gonna be doing kind of like a squat jumping jack, and the way that I think of this is that I'm just touching my knees. I'm not, if you look, I'm not getting super low, so I'm not like going to this full depth. It's more anything that you feel like you're in control and you're jumping around and just raising the heart rate. Because you're jumping wide, your body's probably gonna forward fold a little bit to touch those knees, but that's what it looks like, all right? So you got 30 seconds of that. Then you have goblet, reverse lunges. So you're gonna take your weight or whatever you got. When you do a goblet position, your elbows just have to be off your body. They do not have to be like this. That's crazy town. Just a little bit up so that my upper back stays active. I've got my reverse lunges right here. If you can see, I'm on the yoga mat. My left foot steps to the left, so I'm almost to the edge of that mat. And then when I step back with my right, same thing. I'm almost to the edge of the mat so that I'm taking a wide position. So you have goblet squats for a minute and a half. Then your rest is gonna be the high knees. So when you're doing high knees, They don't have to get crazy high. Obviously that's the goal, is you getting as high as you can go, but I'd rather you do a quick turnover and then see how high you can go with that fast turnover. So what I mean is I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to try to get your knees so high that you end up slowing down your cadence. So the quick pace should be there, and then maybe you're able to get the knees just around the hips, all right? So that's your high knees. The fifth one, you're gonna do a tabletop row. So you're literally gonna be knees down in tabletop. Now I'm actually trying to pull that shoulder blade up. You're pushing into the ground with your other hand. Okay, P. Go back upstairs, please. Hang on. All right, so just so you can see that from the front, I am gonna push my arm into the floor so I can pull that dumbbell up. The dumbbell itself should still hit you in the hip. So hip, hip, hip. That's kind of what I think when I do that. Seems easy because you're down on your knees, but your heart rate should be high from the other things we've done, so that should be a really nice little break. And then your rest on that one's gonna be tap, tap down. So I don't have a lot of space here, but I'll just show you like a little side shuffle. That's what it looks like from the front. So side shuffle, touch the floor, side shuffle, touch the floor. I like to touch with my opposite hand. So if I'm going to the left, or I should say the same, my left hand touches. If I'm going to the right, my right hand touches, but whatever makes the most sense for you. Depending on your space, if you have no space, it might be one shuffle, touch, one shuffle, touch. If you've got more room to move around, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, maybe you've got more space, I don't know. Regardless, it's a touchdown, so I am bending my knees. What I'm not doing is this, and forward folding. So this would be a no-no. I do not want to do that, okay? You're trying to be kind of athletic. You're up on your tippy toes, you know, in that more athletic stance, okay? Then we have goblet squats. So going back to the legs, holding my weight off my chest a little bit. I almost did a lunge. So my wide feet, goblet squats. I think you guys know the drill with those. If you are working out barefoot, which sometimes happens at home, you can use a yoga mat. So I'll usually take my mat and stand on the edge of it so it splits my foot. It's going right through my arch. So I have weight on my heels and the ball of my foot. There's weight on both, but my heel is elevated a little bit. So just a little tip, that way it feels more like a sneaker, a little bit easier. Okay, then you have air ski. So just like we have air squats. When you are on the ski erg, you grab the handles and you pull down, and then you kind of like come up to your tippy toes and back down. So that's what you're gonna do. I'm jumping for height, and I'm landing in a nice power position. My knees are bent so that I'm not jumping and just kind of landing with straight legs. So it's literally jumping for height, but to get the coordination, you can think ski erg for a little bit, right? So I'm jumping into that like hollow position and then landing really nicely. I made up the name, you're welcome. All right, and the ninth one, the last one, is gonna be a hollow body sit-up to overhead press. I'll show you this from two angles. So rolling back, hollow body, sit up, overhead press. The trick to this is to lift up your hips. So right there, I lift my hips up, and that gets me going. I don't wanna hit my head here. Okay, so rock back. I am gonna tuck my chin and try to round my back, lift up the hips, overhead press. Because I'm coming to extension here to do the overhead, I do have to really focus on tucking my chin and rounding my back. I would say that's actually not super easy for me to do, but you do want to squeeze the glutes and try to go as much into that hollow position as possible. So you have a minute and a half of that. If you only have one weight, you could easily do one arm for a couple reps and then switch sides. And then your last 30 seconds of work is going to be a lateral A skip. So when we do A skip, it's kind of like a step, step, knee, step, step, knee, knee, right? That's your A skip. I feel like an Irish dancer with my hands by my side just now. But I'm just going to do that same thing, but moving to the side. So I'm going to bring up my inside knee, step, step, knee, step, step, knee, or whatever you have to say to make this work so it can get fast. I'm not really moving too much laterally, or maybe you do. You can kind of stay in one place, but I'm bringing that inside knee up. Step, step, knee to start, and then again, picking up the pace. And when I really want to get my heart rate up, I want to pull that knee in, go quickly, try to cover more distance. But that is your lateral A skip. I think in P90X, it was like the Heisman, but not, I don't know if it was exactly the same, or maybe that was a jump, but similar to that. Feel free to change anything. You got strength portions and you have cardio portions. So if you didn't want to jump and you had access to running or a bike, you could easily change these. There's not too much jumping. I'm not a super big fan of like jump lunges and those impact things. Those are tough, but these should just be there to move your body around and raise the heart rate. You are going to do 2 rounds. That'll be 20 minutes. If you want a good 30-minute workout, then easily do 3 rounds. All right, guys. See you on Sugar WOD.